Please subscribe and click the hype and like button to get more content like this. Before we start, a quick disclaimer. Everything demonstrated in this video is strictly for educational purposes, to show you how to protect yourself. All demonstrations are performed in a controlled lab environment on our own testing devices. We never target real users, and using this knowledge to gain unauthorized access to actual people or systems is strictly illegal and unethical.
In this video, we're going to go over how to perform passive reconnaissance using Recon-ng. Recon-ng is a reconnaissance framework that's aimed at performing open-source web-based reconnaissance. There are a variety of ways to use Recon-ng, and you can install it on multiple platforms. Kali Linux comes pre-installed with Recon-ng, or you can run it on various Linux distributions like Ubuntu. In this case, we're going to be using it in a Docker container. So let's go over getting started with Recon-ng and how to get it set up in a Docker container. First, we need to open a PowerShell window, and that's where we're going to be doing all of these commands. Now, we need to clone the repository from the source. To do that, we can use the command git clone, and then the URL to the repository. In this case, that's github.com/landmaster53/reconnng.git. And you'll need to make sure that you have Git installed on your system in order for this command to work. So when we hit enter, we clone the repository, and now we need to change directory into the newly cloned repository with the command cd recon-ng. Now that we're into the recon-ng folder, we can do an ls to examine what the contents are. And in here, we can see that the file contains a Docker file, and that's what we're going to use to build our Docker image. In order to build this, you'll also need to make sure that you have Docker installed on your system. Once you do, you can run the command docker build --rm -t recon-ng dot. And this is going to build the Docker container that we're going to use. Now, the Docker container has been built, so we can run it. And to do that, we're going to use this command. The command is docker run --rm -it-p 5000:5000 -v $ curly brace pwd curly brace /recon-ng -v $ curly brace home curly brace /recon-ng /root/.recon-ng recon-ng. Now there's a lot going on in this command, so let's break it down and see what it's actually doing. This command creates a Docker container that will remove itself when exiting, makes the container interactive, binds the container to the local port of 5000, mounts necessary volumes, and then points to the image to use. Now we are running in the Docker container Recon-ng, and now we can start going over how to use Recon-ng and some of the features of Recon-ng. To start, on the command line, we can run the command help. And this outputs a list of commands that we can use along with descriptions of what the commands will do for us. This can be very useful if you ever forget or need a reference to a specific command, and is a good starting place to learn the tool. At the bottom of the list, we see the command workspaces, with the description manages workspaces. Workspaces are useful for keeping your investigations organized and all in one place, as well as separated from other investigations. So let's go ahead and create a workspace now with the command workspaces create, and then provide it with the name that you want your workspace to be. In this case, I'm going to call it demo_workspace. Now we've created a workspace, and we can see on the console, instead of recon-ng default, we have recon-ng demo_workspace, telling us that we're in the demo workspace. We can also type in the word workspaces and hit tab twice to get a list of options that are available to us after the keyword workspaces. So we can see we have create, which we've already used, list, load, and remove. Let's use workspaces list, and it shows us the two workspaces that we have, default and demo workspace. We could use workspaces load to return to the default workspace. And once again, in the console, we can see that instead of demo workspace, we're back in the default. Let's use that command once more to get back into our demo workspace. And now let's use our next command, which we're going to use Marketplace. Marketplace, as the description says above, is a way to interface with the module Marketplace. And let's start by seeing what commands we can use with Marketplace. So once again, I'm going to type in Marketplace in the console and hit Tab twice. And I can see the options that I have available to me after the Marketplace command. I have Info, Install, Refresh, Remove, and Search. Let's start by running the command Marketplace Search and seeing what we get. We can see that the output is a long list of all the modules that we have available to us, as well as the version, the status of their installation for our workspace, when they were last updated, whether or not they have dependencies that are required, and whether or not they require keys. We can be a little bit more specific with our Marketplace Search command as well. So we could use Marketplace Search and then Profiles. And this will give us all of the modules around profiles. We can get information on a specific module out of this list using the command Marketplace Info, and then passing one of the profiles like name CHK. And this gives us a little bit more detailed information than the table does on the specific module. So let's look at using a specific module. In this case, let's use the Hacker Target module. To do that, we're going to use Marketplace Install Hacker Target. This module uses the Hacker Target API along with a hostname search to gather subdomains for a given domain. If we do a Marketplace search again, and we scroll through the table, we can find the recon/domains/hosts/hacker target module and see that its status is installed. Now that we've installed the module, we need to load the module into our workspace. To do that, we can type modules load hacker target. And now we've loaded into the module within our workspace. So once again on the console, we can see it's changed to Recon-ng demo workspace hacker target. Whenever we are within a module, we can run the help command again to get help specifically related to that module. So running help has shown us the specific commands we can use within this module. Let's start by looking at the show command. If I type in show and then use the double tab again, we can see that we have various options around the command show. So now let's use some of these commands. First, we can run the command info to get info about the loaded module, and we can see various information. If you've previously worked with Metasploit, some of this might look familiar. For example, the options of setting a source and a value look very similar to how you set options with a Metasploit module. In this case, we want to set our source to be whatever web application we are trying to perform reconnaissance on. So in this case, let's do a subdomain search on the domain for Recon-ng. To do that, we're going to use the command options set source, followed by the URL that we want to investigate. In this case, landmaster53.com. Now that our source has been set, we can use the command input to see what kind of input the module has. And we can see the module input is landmaster53.com. And now we can run this module using the command run. And upon running, we have found 2 hosts associated with the domain. This has now populated information within our workspace and within our module. So now we can use the command show hosts to see all of the hosts that we found in a nicely formatted table, where it shows us the host, the IP address, and other information that it was able to find out. So this is one way that we can use Recon-ng to perform reconnaissance on a web application.